The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello, my name is Lisa Williams. I am on staff with NPMA, and welcome to today's Asset Management Awareness Month presentation. Today we have Mike Woods with Camcode talking about the value of barcoding in the property management environment. We will take questions in the question box. Be sure to drop those in there, and I will be reading those out to Mike at the end of his presentation. Also, this presentation is being recorded and spread the word. It will be up on our YouTube channel later today. You will also, if you're an NPMA member and you attend at least half of this event, you will get your CEU, and those will be available in early April. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to you, Mike. Thank you so much for doing this.
No problem. Thank you very much, Lisa. We really just want to say thanks again for the opportunity to get to speak to everyone here within NPMA. I know Lisa said you only have to stay half the time for the full credit, so hopefully we can keep you all here for the full presentation. But my name is Mike Woods with Camcode. Today we're going to be talking about the value of barcoding in a property management environment. So a little bit about myself. I started here at Camcode about 4 years ago, and my role here is the fixed asset market leader. And what that kind of entails is it's more of a general property management, inventory management, fixed asset management role where I help property managers like yourself identify their assets, find a software solution for their assets, and then also be able to deliver that all in one bundle for you guys. A little bit of information about Camcode. We were founded in 1979. We are a worldwide leader in design and manufacturing of durable and pre-printed labels, both in our metal photo, which is an anodized aluminum label, and also our polyester or vinyl line labels. We additionally are a custom manufacturer, and we work in a bunch of different markets and provide services for asset and data tracking, automatic identification, and data capture. So with that, let's get this party started. So looking into this, how do you define property? So whether it's a school building, a college campus, a government office, facility, or something in your portfolio, they all need a way to track their assets. There's a huge pool of assets within these different pieces of property, and you need to find a way to track them efficiently and effectively. And what that means is in the bigger picture, these things lead to asset management and organizational success. So a couple of things that putting an asset management system combined with barcodes and software or Excel files or anything of that nature, you're building transparency and accountability. So you have a visibility into where all of your assets are, and then who has it, right? Where is it? How can I find it? When was the last time it was used? Things of that nature. It also helps to reduce waste and optimize resource use. So you're cutting down on labor hours. You're cutting down on manpower that you may have. Not everybody's running in 10 different directions. You're able to locate an asset, know about that asset, and then also manage that asset effectively, leading you to a leaner organization. And then also, with this information, it helps to make decisions in the future. You have a foundation of information where you are able to pretty much look at that information and make an informed business decision about what you want to do moving forward. So on the agenda today, we're going to cover a few different things. The first is we're going to look into education, government, facilities, and property management, and why asset management matters to those industries. Then we'll look into the benefit of barcoding and QR codes in these different environments. We'll do a compare and contrast with QR codes and barcodes, and then we'll just show you some different ways people are utilizing QR codes, different ways that they're being successful out in the field itself. Then we'll wrap up, and then we'll get to the Q&A. So please fire in any questions that you guys have to Lisa, and we will take those at the end. So why is it critical now more than ever in 2025 to track your assets or utilize some form of asset management system? One, everything's becoming more expensive, whether it's a physical or a digital asset. The cost of everything can then move up that threshold, right? If something was only $100 a few years ago and now it's $500, well, that's $400 more that the company needs to be responsible for. So providing some kind of asset management identification to that specific asset may now be more important than it was 4 years ago. The other is, we're getting more compliance rules. We're getting more audit demands, wanting to have that information at your fingertips to be able to provide the answers that are needed within your organization or to someone that, is funding a project for you guys. And then also operational efficiency in lean environments. So looking to, reduce as much costs that you guys have to yourselves and be able to see an ROI on the back end and be able to say, okay, hey, you know what, 10 years ago, this took us 2 hours to do, and now we're down to just a couple of minutes, and being able to find our assets and see what's needed within those. So this is kind of back to that foundation, right? These are what we think are the overarching pillars of effective asset management. The first one is identification. So this is where it all starts. Like we talked earlier, there's a huge pool of assets within your organization. How do you know what's what? How do you know who owns what? How do you know who's responsible for what? Well, the best way to do that would be to identify those specific assets. And you can do that through a few different ways. You could do that through RFID, barcode labels, and then using those labels to assign a unique identifier to each asset. So basically what you have is now you have a way to say, okay, this asset belongs to this department, this asset belongs to this project. And from there you can kind of start to build out that foundation and build up that roadmap of what you're looking for. Tracking. So this gives you a real-time look into your decision making. So when you put together a barcoding or asset management system, combining those two pieces together with the software and the barcode labels, you're presenting yourself with a way to track those assets. It could be something as simple as location or status or condition, or what employee checked it out last, or how long it's been in the system, or if it needs to be disposed. There could be a plethora of factors that you may need visibility into that something like a asset management, inventory management, or facilities management software could provide for you. And then again, using something like a tracking system helps to benefit the technologies of RFID, IoT, and using cloud-based platforms such as an inventory management, facilities management system. Next is data accuracy. So we've had customers that have come to us and, are saying, I keep track of this in Excel, we handwrite these out. Putting in an asset management system ensures your data is accurate. Not only is it accurate, it's up to date. So you can look at it and say, okay, this item was checked out on, 3/17 at 3:59 p.m., whereas it hasn't been checked back into inventory or process. So it really helps to kind of automate your data collection and then reduce, human errors, right? So when you have a barcode, QR code on that asset, all you have to do is scan that asset. You don't have to rely on someone typing in the incorrect number. You don't have to worry about someone taking that information down incorrectly. All of that information is stored in that database. So when you connect those two, it gives you a clear indication of that record. And then again, it puts in place another process piece that you can have where you can audit your inventory. You could take a look, say, hey, we've lost X amount of equipment over the last year. Where can we find that? Who was the last person to use it? What is it out for service? Any of those different factors can kind of come into play. And then also life cycle management. So managing the asset from the time it's purchased or brought into the facility to the time that it's no longer needed. This can help to reduce waste around the office. It can also ensure compliance in different assets that were purchased by federal funding, governments, grants, anything like that. And a real world example of this would be properly decommissioning a laptop to meet environmental regulations. Is the battery removed? Is it put in the right bins? Is it going to the right place? You can do all of that with an asset management or inventory management system. Next, we're going to start to look into all of the different industries that we highlighted at the beginning of this presentation and go over the challenges that they're facing. So in education, some of the common challenges that they're facing is securing funding. A lot of the athletes in education, they get a large chunk of the money now, so it's a little bit harder to get money. But obviously, this has been a challenge that has gone on long before the NIL process came into play. The next is audit compliance, federal and state. So looking into where's that funding coming from? Do we have enough? Do we have all of our information that's needed to be able to be approved for this funding? Next is lack of standardization across different departments. So is one department operating on a different management system? Is one just manually logging this data? Is another one using a different system than the first? So is everybody on the same page, right? Is everybody using the same system? Does everybody have the same visibility into everything under that roof? The next is dependence on manual or outdated processes. So again, referring back to manual data entry, making sure that whoever is in charge of inputting that information is doing it correctly. And if they're not, you're creating bad data across the board, which in turn leads to bad reporting and then eventually bad decision making as well. From education, we'll move on to government. So some of the common challenges we see within government is data security and data privacy. Is everybody who has access to this supposed to have access? Why do they have access to it? Making sure that that proprietary information is kept in-house on a secure server. What kind of softwares can we use that could make this easier? If we add a software, does it make it harder for us? These are the kind of give and take situations that are faced within government and data security. Do we have a consistent naming structure for all of our assets? Do we know where all of our assets are? This is another thing that can kind of create confusion across the board. Making sure that you have a clear roadmap for this asset tracking and inventory system. Transparency and accountability for public assets, is what is supposed to be there, so you can track it from a in or out process. You can track it as from an identification process, making sure that everything that you have needed to be recorded is recorded in itself. Efficient disposal and retirement procedures for outdated assets. Where's this information kept? Do we know how to do this? What assets are going to need to be disposed or retired? And what ways do we do that? The next is consistency and data accuracy. Like we talked about, with manual data entry, things can get cloudy. People may not make the right decisions because the data that they're working off of is not correct. And one example of this is maintaining accurate cost records across departments and agencies. Is everybody inputting the correct data? Is everybody putting in the correct, pay amount for these different assets? And how do we track that life cycle for those assets as well? And then budget constraints. Is it in the budget to add something like this? What's the cost up front, but what's the ROI on it on the back end? Is it going to provide you with a lot more benefit than just its initial cost? From government, we'll move into facility management. So some of the challenges that are faced within facilities management is lack of visibility into the assets. Do you know where everything is? Where's it going to be? Who's going to find it? How long is it going to take them to find it? Resources restrictions. Is there enough people within this department to be able to do the job correctly and in an efficient way? Prioritizing your work orders and looking at work order inaccuracies or inconsistencies. Like we've kind of talked about, and it's becoming a common theme here, is the data being entered manually? Yes. Is it being entered correctly? We don't know that, right? And if something's incorrect, you have to go all the way back to that asset. You have to seek that asset out again, just to double check. So having a asset management, inventory management system gives you that clear roadmap that we've been talking about, to where, hey, somebody comes back to you with a serial number, you input it, that doesn't return a record. You go back, you see if they, put down the wrong number, re-input it, and then it pulls up that asset right there. Compliance and regulations. So is everything safe? Is everything up to environmental code? Is everything up to building code? These are all important factors that can be kept track of within some kind of asset management and inventory management system. And then again, lack of standardization across departments. Is the IT department using something different from the maintenance department? Is the maintenance department using something different from the education department? All of these things kind of need to be on a same page, right? Or a way to integrate all three systems across all three departments so everybody's looking at the same thing. From facilities, we'll move, my view, I think property management and facilities management run parallel to each other. Some of the common challenges we're seeing within property management are maintenance cost, staffing. Are we understaffed? Are we overstaffed? What needs to be repaired? What job sites are we working at? All of these different things combine into time lost, man hours lost, no visibility into the tool or equipment location. So even going as granular as labeling some of your tools that you have within your property management system to know, hey, this employee took, this hammer or this, drill to, room 234 and it hasn't come, hey, at least when I'm looking for it, I need to go back to 34, see if that's at least to start. Work order inaccuracy and inconsistencies. Again, this leads back to the data. Is what we're putting in correct? Next, a lack of communication between maintenance and other contractors or repairmen or different departments. Is everybody on the same page? How do we get everybody on the same page? And utilizing a central asset management, inventory management system can do that. Next, we're going to talk about the consequences of poor asset management, right? So we went over the challenges, we went through, what everybody's kind of facing or what we're seeing in each industry. But now what we're going to do is we're going to take a look of those poor asset management traits and see what it can lead to. So as you can see, we have education, government, facilities management, and property management. All four of those are susceptible to asset loss, theft, or misuse of their assets, right? Do we know where everything is? Another that all four are susceptible to is regulatory or non-compliance and audit penalties. So looking at those four industries, they all have some kind of way to go back and some rules to follow along the way. And there needs to be some kind of record of what this was used for, how it was used, and how we can utilize that. Education. faces, issues or consequences with, inadequate funding, grants to replace old assets. So where's this money coming from to replace these things? How are we going to get this funding? How are we going to get this grant? Having that data behind it really helps to kind of build your case and secure that funding. Government and property management face increased operational costs and inefficiencies. So it takes longer to do things because there's no way to know you're working on the correct piece or if your work orders are going out to the correct areas. And the last three are something that hits all four markets, right? Difficulty identifying all the assets within the facility. Is this laptop 1 or laptop 2? Is this, room 304? Is it room 305? So not knowing where to look creates that confusion right off the bat. Budgetary constraints are understaffing, right? Everybody has that right now. Everybody's looking for more workers, more people to get in the building, and to be able to help them in their processes. And then again, coming back to the manual processes and the manual data entry, across all four industries, we see this as something that usually lends to leading to a asset management or inventory management system implementation. Now, since I've brought this all the way down, we're going to bring it back up and we're going to show you how to fix all of these. That would be something as simple as adding a QR code label to your assets and providing that identification that's really needed. So one of the ways a QR code benefits you is work order data and inventory control. So by going up to that asset, scanning it, and having a software with a database, when you scan it, it's going to pull up all of the data for that specific asset. When it was worked on last, who was the last one to do those repairs, any other pertinent information that may be needed for that specific asset can be found there. In doing that, it helps to utilize a check-in and check-out process of inventory and gives you that current picture of the asset's life cycle or status within your organization. The next is data quality, right? So on those previous slides, we talked about how hard it is to have and work off of manual data and all of the pitfalls that may come with that as well. Here, with an asset management, inventory management, facilities management system, your data is a lot cleaner and it's a lot more accurate, right? So in a facilities management scope, service requests and work orders are written on the correct asset because you're going up to it with a QR code on it or a barcode on it, scanning it, and it's pulling up that asset that barcode or QR code is tied to. We had a customer that used to write service requests in about 7 to 30 minutes before implementing, a inventory management, asset management system. Took them a long time. They were doing it in a manual process, writing it down, putting it in an Excel file. Adding a barcode label in a software system has reduced that down from 7 to 30 minutes down to just 30 seconds, right? So you're able to do more throughout the day just by automating that process for yourself. The next is data control. So you can manage the information more effectively. You're basically, when you put that QR code or barcode label on there, you're basically creating an access point between the asset and the software, right? So you have a gateway to walk through to be able to have a clear indication of the state of that asset. And then you can use all the information correctly to help manage the equipment as well. And you do that by having that historical record of, different services that have been provided, different maintenance records, different work orders that have been requested, all within that specific asset. And again, that gives you that roadmap on what your inventory can look like, right? What's in our inventory? What's out of our inventory? Who has what? Where is it? Is it where it's supposed to be? In most softwares, you're able to attach specific documents to an asset where you could put PDFs of, maybe a work order on how to fix a machine, or an example work order if you have a new employee, so they can look at it and say, hey, this is what needs to be filled out, this is how it needs to be done. You could have invoicing on there, the cost and date of when the asset was purchased, and then also access to the maintenance records as well. Now the age-old question, should I use a QR code or a barcode? If I had $1 for every time I answered this, I probably wouldn't be here giving this presentation. I'd probably be retired already. So QR codes. So when we're looking at QR codes, they are the new way to encode data. So in a QR code, you have the ability to include a URL, as well as a string of numbers and letters. So you have more space within that QR code to fit more information. The other piece about a QR code, it is very durable. If 30% of that QR code is damaged or unable to be scanned, you still have the ability to scan that QR code with the 70% that's remaining. And because we have a lot of ability to put a lot of information into a QR code, it gives us the ability to have a smaller label as well. So we can really get more information in a smaller space, and give yourself more label data on that actual physical label as well. Barcodes. So this is the age-old, tried and true way to automatically identify your assets. So with a barcode, the more data you put into that barcode, the bigger the barcode has to be, right? So when you're doing that, the width of the barcode actually has to increase the more data that you put into it. Different from the QR code, any damage that's done to that barcode basically renders it useless, right? If there's a scratch through it, if there is if the label gets cut in half, the barcode gets cut in half, it is no longer able to be scanned, and that label needs to be replaced. And then it doesn't have as much flexibility, being able to link a URL into a barcode, right? It would just be more so a sequence of alphanumeric or just a numeric sequence. How do we encode these barcodes? This really comes down to two different ways to compare it. So we could use asset-specific data, or we could use sequential data. Asset-specific data is a pre-assigned serial number prior to the tag manufacturing. So if you guys are using internal serial numbers or internal asset numbers that you guys have created for your own nomenclature, you can then provide those, and that is essentially an assigned asset-specific label. The problem with these is you have to be 100% confident in your data, right? You have to make sure that you are providing all of the correct sequences, all of the right information, and you're not really lending to any kind of mistakes within that run of data. You can also add unique descriptions to this. So if you want to abbreviate something, if you want to condense a description of a asset and put that into the barcode, you can do that as well. It also can lead to higher installation cost. So instead of being able to just go from one asset to the next, you have to go and seek out that specific asset and put that specific asset on that specific label on that specific asset. One way you can kind of combat this is find a company that offers kitting or packaging. So basically, if you have different rooms and hey, serial number AM0001 through AM0024 go in room 101, that can be kitted out for you. We can take care of that for you and basically have that so when you get the tags to install them, all you have to do is go to room 101 and say boom, 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 boom. It's sectioned out. You don't have to worry too much about it. Sequential data. So this is one of the easier ways to automatically identify your assets, and that would be providing a sequential range. It could start at something as simple as 0001 and run all the way up to however many assets are needing to be labeled, and it also gives you a little bit more of a buffer when you're ordering these tags. You can order a couple extra because they're not asset specific. More tags ordered leads to a less per piece price. So you're spending more money, but the per piece price to tag each individual asset is decreasing as you're adding more. This helps to combat installation costs because basically what you're doing is you are taking that next label up and putting it on an asset. You pull it out of the bag, it can go on the next asset. 1, 2, 3, you can go right down the line and not have to worry about matching it up to a specific asset. And then in terms of tags needing replaced or damaged or falling off, anything of that nature, it makes it easier to swap those tags out, right? Because if you have 005 on a specific asset and that tag falls off, you could go up to 1001 and then replace that tag and then replace that asset ID within your software as well. And then that would be the new identifier for the specific asset. We're going to talk about some different ways to use QR codes now. So the most popular use for QR codes is in our industry, and it's asset maintenance tracking, inventory tracking. But there's some other ways that people are utilizing QR codes, linking to warranty information, a check-in, check-out inventory process, having a dynamic URL and a QR code to be able to manage your website and change the content that's on there. Marketing or promotional materials, linking to training modules, and linking to part ordering or reordering. Warranty information. So this really helps to streamline and reduce the amount of paperwork that you guys have. So you're creating a digital trail for these individual assets. So it gives you the ability to take those PDFs that you get from a manufacturer or where the equipment was purchased from and upload it directly to the asset so it's there when somebody needs it, right? If something breaks down, if something's under warranty, to be able to check. Having that flexibility really, instead of going and searching for an individual warranty, really kind of streamlines that process for you. You can also create a cloud-based file and encode that into the QR code where it has all of this important information linked as well. You can put that URL into the QR code, manufacture a label, and then you have that quick and easy access point to the important information to your organization. Dynamic QR codes. So this gives you the ability to put a URL into a QR code, and then every time it's scanned, when that website is updated, it provides a different snapshot or a different picture. This one was a church that I worked with that put a dynamic URL into it, into the QR code, and they update their website monthly. So every time someone sits down at church or anything, they go scan it, pulls up the website, and it has all of their new events, all of their new gatherings that they're doing throughout the month there as well. It also is very trackable. You can see who accessed it and why they're accessing it. It's customizable, like we talked about, right? Being able to control that content that's in there. And it gives the people involved within your organization accessibility into what's going on within your organization. And it's going to also provide better security than a static QR code as well. You can use it for marketing or promotional materials. So QR codes will provide a way to present information online. Using this to promote new initiatives within the company. If you need your organization to take a survey about some changes within the organization, you could do that as well. You see this in restaurants and retailers. They're moving to QR codes, whether it's to pay, to view their menu, or doing different tasks while at a place of business. You can do that. It gives you a way to find the information fast. Part ordering and reordering. So if you are in this maintenance type way, basically what you'll have is a QR code listed to a specific piece of inventory. Utilize that QR code to manage the inventory itself. Look at it and say, I have a full and real-time view into what's inside my inventory, what's on hand, what needs ordered, how do I get there. You can also create a threshold and say, hey, once this gets past 15 units, we need to reorder 100 units. It reduces error, and it increases your efficiency as well. So you don't have to worry about people ordering things twice. You don't have to worry about getting too low and not being able to order those. Next, we're going to cover some different examples of successful QR code asset management system implementations. First one we have here is Amazon. Amazon had took a unique approach to an inventory tracking and information gathering application. So on each of Amazon's trucks, you'll see a QR code. And in that QR code, it has the truck's Amazon assigned unit number, and then it also has the VIN number and manufacturer information. So they do this for regulatory compliance or maintenance service requests. That code can be accessed by both Amazon and the manufacturer to get the information about that truck quickly. It's also scanned upon entering and leaving each distribution center. So the QR code scanned when it arrives, it records the time it was entered, what time it left, and then this gives them the ability to look at the accurate data and accessible information needed to make those decisions on fleet management. Are trucks running slow? Are they running ahead of schedule? You know, can they do more while they're out on the road? Those are the conversations that they're having. Post consumer brands. So Post uses a asset label that has a QR code on it. And that QR code links to different instructional videos, different SOPs, how to operate and maintain the equipment. So when a new employee is hired, they can go up to a specific piece of machinery that they're maybe going to be responsible for, scan it, watch the videos on how to use the machine, understand what happens when it breaks down, and know Post policies, all from a QR code. They access a website which has all of that information stored and entered, so all they have to do is scan that QR code and they have all of their information at their fingertips. So what this can do is this can help to save labor hours and dollars. So basically not having to have 2, 3, 4 people train this person, you can maybe have one person train them now and, you know, have them refer back to, you know, the videos and how to operate that piece of machinery. Next example is Pepperdine University. Pepperdine uses QR codes to track the maintenance on their kitchen equipment and utility equipment around the campus. It's a large campus, so you know, running back and forth and making sure that the data isn't, you know, if you grab the wrong serial number or you grab the wrong asset, it's a timely mistake. So what Pepperdine uses the QR codes for is for preventative maintenance. They want to make sure that this is performed, you know, automatically, and it creates that database record within their software. The QR code is then scanned, and it creates that work order or service request for each piece of equipment that needs maintenance done to it. And this gives you, you know, a faster and accurate way than a manual work order or maintenance report creation. So if someone's out on the maintenance team and they're out, you know, walking the campus and they're collecting a full, you know, clipboard full of work orders and turning those in at the end of the day, well, now tomorrow you're going to have to spend all that time manually entering those work orders. And then you have to look at it and say, okay, did they get all the right information? Why is this missing? And then if any of that is incorrect, they have to go back out and redo that work. So again, saving time and having correct data is something that can provide some return on investment for you. ServPro. So in my role, I work with a lot of restoration companies. ServPro was having some issues with making sure that their equipment was able to be returned. So they would start their day by checking out specific equipment to their employees and then just hoping it came back at the end of the day. What we did is we implemented a labeling system along with a asset management software, and we're able to provide them a real-time look into their inventory. They were able to track what jobs they were at, what pieces of equipment were at that job. Are they back in inventory? They had an issue after they had installed this system where $18,000 worth of equipment was missing. And from that $18,000, they were able to track back and say, okay, this is at the Jones house. We need to go back and get this equipment. So whatever cost that they paid for that system, they just saved $18,000 by not being able to locate their equipment. And one of the quotes that we have from it is, it's a simplistic system on the surface, but it works extremely well, right? So even something as easy as checking in and out of inventory can save you time, save you money. So some of the solutions and best practices that we have for you guys. You want to implement a scalable system. This is something that you can grow into. You don't want to become overwhelmed when you're taking on a project to implement a process like this. You want to invest in a strategy and tracking technology that is going to be what your organization needs. It's not something that you just kind of throw at the wall and hope it sticks, right? This is something that needs to be well thought out of, and then also a process that needs to be well thought out as well. You want a system that's going to be able to adapt to where you guys are going. You don't want something that you're going to have to upgrade in a year or two. You want something with some flexibility, ability to customize and provide what your organization's needs are. The next is to standardize the process. So putting in a organization-wide asset management policy, making sure every department's following those procedures, everybody's following the instructions on how to track those assets and get them to where they need to be. This also helps to streamline workflows for asset acquisition, tracking, and disposal. And then you can use the teams that you have and train them on these processes consistently, right? So you can go over it time and time again with them to make sure that this process is set in place and something that's going to, provide a benefit to your organization. Next is to look into technology. I've mentioned software a bunch of times on this call. I probably could have mentioned it a few less times. But some of the things to consider, barcode and RFID systems for tracking, asset management software for centralized data, to have that roadmap, to have that foundation of where your assets are. Also, you can look into IoT-enabled sensors for real-time monitoring. So you can look at, those types of systems to help leverage your processes and make your processes run a lot more smoother. Also, you can conduct regular audits, so checking in on your inventory, making sure the data is correct, and then looking for those gaps and inconsistencies and where you can get better. Without a system like this, you're just kind of guessing. You're just kind of hoping you're making an informed decision. And then using those audits to help refine those processes and make them smoother, reduce the amount of gaps that you have within your organization. And then services. So what goes into the audit from experience? How do we get to a place where we're all on the same page? So we also put together a few steps you guys can take today. One is assess your current asset management maturity level. What systems and processes do we have? Are they working? How can Camcode help? The next is to identify those gaps that we talked about on the last slide and look and see, is this something we need to improve on? Is this something that we can take a bite off of right off the bat? So we're looking at high impact opportunities. Can we track our inventory? Is it trackable? Can we instill a system that will work for us? Talk to the people in charge. We've shown you a couple of different ways that ROI can be created from this inventory management and asset management system, and look at the long-term benefits, right? If you save $18,000 within the first 6 months, what are you going to save over the next 5 years? And then you're also able to leverage available resources like MPMA with their training and certifications. You can also use Camcode's educational tools and resources. I mean, that includes me. I'm more than happy to sit down with anyone and have a conversation about your individual process, and how we can help you get to where you want to be. So just wrapping up, some of the more important takeaways of an automatic identification system in asset management. One, so it's going to maximize your facility efficiency. You're going to be able to do more with less time. Minimizes downtime. When you know what tasks are at hand, you don't have to worry about sitting around looking for work to do. In turn, that's going to lead to profitability. You guys are going to be able to make more money because you're going to be able to get more done. Improve predictive maintenance. By having those historical records of service, maintenance records, you're able to predict accurately when that machine or when that piece of equipment is going to need to be serviced. 100% accurate link to your database. By automating this process and putting the scanning in place, you have the ability to now have a 100% accurate database. Better regulatory compliance. Are you following all the rules? This is how you can do it. It helps with your data collection. So you're getting 100% correct data, and from that correct data, you're able to report more effectively, and you're able to use that data, use that reporting to make informed business decisions about your future. So with that, I just want to say thank you to everyone here at MPMA. I really appreciated the opportunity to get a chance to speak to all of you, share a little bit more about what I do on a day-to-day basis and how I can help other property managers just like yourself. Thanks again, Lisa. I appreciate it, and we can open up the Q&A.
Thank you, Mike. Someone's wanting to know if you're going to be at the NES, Mike.
We will be there.
Great. I'm just waiting for a sec to see if other questions come in. All right. Well, I'll tell you what. People are saying great presentation. Thank you. We're grateful, Mike. We appreciate your support of MPMA and its members. If any other questions do come in, I will send those to you so you can respond to the individuals.
Excellent.
And once again, thank you. Our next presentation will be next week. Oh, here's a question. What system do we need to use the QR code?
You could use one. You'll have to get an identifying label. You'll have to have some kind of way to identify an asset, have a QR code on there encoded with your correct data, and then you'll need some kind of inventory or asset management, facilities management system to be able to talk back and forth with that asset.
Great, thank you. How do you deal with challenges of QR coding in classified spaces?
Well, there are some different ways that you can do that. In government, usually they use a data matrix versus a QR code, so that's a little bit more encrypted, but also, we have different security measures that we can take with us here at Camcode, is such as watermarking our tags or anything of that nature.
Okay, and then the person who asked the question about what system, they responded back and said they have the sunflower system.
Yeah, I mean, our labels would work with sunflower. You just have to make sure that sunflower has the ability to scan QR codes. That is one of the pitfalls. Sometimes they only have the ability to scan a barcode at that point, but you should be able to find that information right on their website.
Great. Just waiting to see if anything else comes in. Thank you, they say.
No problem.
Well, thank you so much. We will see you at the NES, and thank you to everyone who attended today.
No problem. Thank you guys very much. I appreciate your time.
Thanks, Mike.